everyone, I am Dr. Mridushmita Dwara from the discipline of social work. Today I will be discussing the third module of the MOOC course that is titled as Gender and the Media. I will be discussing the 8th unit, and module 3 basically introduces you to the concept of gender and the allied subjects and the allied concepts. So in this presentation, in this session, today we will be discussing the basic concept of gender, how the word gender has a social construction, the concept of sex and sexuality, gender stereotype, patriarchy, and the queer. So let us start this class by first discussing and understanding the concept called sex and gender. Although the words gender and sex are often used interchangeably, they have different connotations or meanings. Sex refers to the biological differences, while gender more than often refers to the cultural and social differences. Gender covers a broader range of identities than being just male or female that denotes a range of identities. So basically, when a baby is born, first the biological identification, that is the sex, whether the baby is a male or a female, is identified, and we also know that also there is the third gender or the queer, who is also known as the LGBTQ plus community. So again, the term gender, which basically refers to the social construction of the biological sex that an individual is born with. Gender refers to all the social and socialization and social construct of the sexes that we are born into. Gender refers to either of the two sexes, male or female, with manifestations of social and cultural differences rather than only the biological ones. So identities of masculinity and femininity that we keep using, like we may say that some male behave more like female or some female behave more like men. These are socially constructed ideas. So this idea of gender revolves around the concept of masculine or feminine. The word gender has been used since the 14th century as a grammatical term. So from this part we have understood that sex and gender are two different words. Sex only implies to the biological difference that we are born into as male or female or the third gender, and also gender is a social constructed phrase that is used to refer to all the gendered roles and the social expectations that the society has from either the male or the female. Therefore, there is a difference between these two terms, that is sex and gender. So if we see, there is social stratification in the society based on various dimensions, right? Race, caste, class, ethnicity, gender, ability or disability, and age. So our society is divided into stratas. But the three main types of advantages that we see in the society that determines your strata in the society, the first one is economic resources or wealth that a person has access to. The second one is power, that can refer to any kind of political power. And the third one is prestige, which is related to your social status. So the social stratification in the society of an individual is mainly determined by the accessibility to economic resources, to power and prestige, apart from the different criteria of social stratification like age, caste, class, gender, ability, race. All these things also matter. Now coming to the concept of gender stratification, the degree of unequal accessibility to power, authority, prestige, status, rights and economic resources based on differentiated sex of an individual matters. So here the role of patriarchy we see. We will discuss the concept of patriarchy in the coming slides. So patriarchy refers to the social system where men hold primary power and dominate roles in leadership, authority and societal privileges. Patriarchy is a form of social construct or social institution of dominance or oppression. It often enforces gender inequality in the society, subordinating women and marginalized genders in economic, political and cultural spheres. So patriarchy influences norms, laws and traditions, perpetuating male dominance and restricting equal opportunities for other sexes or other genders. Okay, so therefore we see that there is gender stratification in the society. The degree of unequal accessibility to power, authority, prestige or status, rights and economic resources are basically the basis on which social stratification is formed based on gender. Thus, gender differences or discrimination is based on gender socialization, cultural experiences and expected gender roles. We know that physically and physiologically humans are different. Humans are known to be sexually dimorphic, unlike in most of the other animals. So sexually dimorphic refers to the physical differences that are directly visible to the eye and we can make out whether a human being is a male or a female. So that is known as, compared to most of the other animals or mammals, human beings are more sexually dimorphic, and that brings about the direct discrimination when we are in the society that the person is a male or a female. It directly leads to different kinds of discrimination. So now we have understood the concept of gender stratification and how patriarchy as a social system has played a major role in bringing about social stratification and gender differences in the society. So also norms, laws, traditions are mostly seen to be male dominated and it restricts equal opportunities for others and other sexes. So now we will talk about the concept of gender stereotyping and roles. So as we have introduced or talked about the concept of gender socialization starts from the moment we are born up to the time maybe we die. We come across different expectations based on our gender, based on our sex. For example, a boy is supposed to behave in such a way, a female is supposed to behave in such a way. There are different roles. Gendered based division of work is seen in the society. Social evolution, role of the estrogen and testosterone hormones are given more emphasis. So the social evolution also says that the female sex is more prone to be more nurturing, and the testosterone or the male hormones are said to be more dominating, or sometimes said to be more aggressive in nature. So based on these different types of hormones, it is said that the society has different gendered expectations. While the gender role theory focuses on difference between the genders based on ascribed role as a result of social norms and socialization, and we tend to develop skills and behavior based on the gender socialization and ascribed roles. That is, after our birth, we are assigned certain duties, certain roles and expectations based on our sexes. Those are known as gendered roles. So the gender role theory says that we tend to develop that kind of nature, skills and behavior as how we have been socialized since our birth in the society. The functionalist perspective on gender says that Gender roles suggest that gender roles do exist to maximize social efficiency and create a division of labor in the society. So the functionalist theories say that gender role or gender division of work is extremely important in the society to bring about maximum efficiency of work and to create an organized division of labor in the society based on our sexes. That is known as sex-based division of labor or gender division of labor. Now coming to the feminist movement. The feminist movement takes a position that functionalism can be criticized based on the notion that functionalism neglects the suppression of women within the family structure. So the feminist movement, which we will be discussing in the later classes and units, you will come to know that the feminist movement is a type of ideology that brought about changes of looking at gender rights, rights of women, rights of the third gender or the queer. And feminist movement says that patriarchy is a major form of social system that brings about oppression of women, and that needs to be fought with, or that needs to be dealt with. So feminist movement takes the position that functionalism as a school of thought that existed in the society, they have completely ignored or neglected the suppression of women even within the family structure and the society. And coming to the concept of intersectionality. Intersectionality of gender discrimination further brings about or deepens the concept of inequality. Intersectionality is a concept which talks about multiple ways of a person being discriminated in the society. This can be connected to the concept of social stratification. Intersectionality talks about a person being discriminated on various grounds. For example, a person with disability, a female with disability, may be discriminated if she belongs to a lower class, a lower caste, maybe the race or the color of her skin is also dark or may not be, so called within the standard of beauty, and then again she has the disadvantage of being a person with disability. So therefore the chances of her being discriminated and oppressed by the other powerful agencies like higher caste, higher class and able human beings, and also maybe so-called superior races. So intersectionality focuses on the multiple dimensions of discrimination that a person might be facing and how a person is positioned in the society. So that is why this concept of intersectionality is very important in understanding gender, because we have to keep in mind that an individual may be discriminated based on various disadvantaged positions in the society or within the gender strata or the social strata of the society that we live in. These are certain traditional gender types or gender stereotypes that is expected. If a person is said to be female, the person might be expected to be not aggressive, referring to the quality of being feminine, not aggressive, very dependent on someone who is passive, someone who is very easy to handle or is not opinionated, while a masculine or a male person might have the expectation of to be very aggressive, active, not normally influenced by anyone but is very stern or sometimes also adamant. So we have different expectations from the different gender types or sex biological sexes that we are born into. So being a feminine or a masculine, people have different expectations, and that is known as gender stereotyping. you stereotype a person as to be, for example, a female is supposed to dress up in traditional ways in most of the occasions, or is expected to look beautiful, or has to maintain her beauty standard of beauty, which is usually determined by the society. So these are gender stereotypes. While a male might be encouraged to look more aggressive or look more so-called manly or masculine, so we have attached gender stereotypes to our existence. Cultural construction of gender leads to such gender stereotyping. Power and inequality that exist in the society, it also fosters these gender stereotyping. Social structures, social institutions like marriage, religion, family, we are part of these social institutions, and these social structures have specific gender roles. Also, the rituals and symbolisms that we see in culture and cultural practices, or in the rites of passages refers to those rituals which are performed by a particular cultural group, symbolizing the different passages of life. For example, birth, the rituals associated to birth, the rituals associated to marriage, the rituals associated to puberty, or the rituals associated to death. These are different rituals that are performed in every society all around the globe, but this practices differ from every geographical area, but they do exist. So there are different rites of passages in our life that we follow, and these are mainly determined by the cultural group that you belong to. Now we have to touch upon the concept of feminism, though this concept will be explained elaborately in the coming classes. Let us see what does feminism mean, because when we are understanding gender as a concept, we have to understand the ideology of feminism. So in brief, let me discuss this concept of feminism. Feminism is a movement or an ideology to end sexism, sexist exploitation and oppression that till now I have been talking about. How gender stereotyping, gendered roles, gendered oppression, patriarchy, all these things exist in the society, and feminism as a ideology is a challenge to end these certain forms of oppression, or to question these systems of oppression that exist in the society based on the sex or gender of a person. Feminism is a complex notion that has vast difference in meaning and connotation for people spanning generations, ethnic identities, sexual orientations, classes, nationality and various other identities. So it says that there are gender identity is very important, and we have differences in meaning and concept spanning across different small ethnic groups, and sexual orientation, sexual identities, classes and different countries and other identities. Feminism is not a static notion. It evolves with us throughout our lives and is shaped by various lenses we use to view the world at large, most importantly ourselves. So how we are placed in the society based on the sex that we are born into, based on the the position in society that we are based on, as per our sex, caste, class, ethnicity, language that we use. So how are we placed in the society? Feminism takes a stand to understand these forms of any kind of oppression that might exist in the society based on our strata in the or position in the society. Coming to the concept of sexuality, feminism had different waves of it, coming from the first, second, third, and presently it is said that the fifth wave of feminism is still an ongoing process. So first wave of feminism was mainly focused on the right to vote or female suffrage movement. that started in the Europe and in America. It was mainly started by the white women, so they fought for universal right of women to vote or political right. The second wave focused on the other aspects of sexuality, on aspects of fighting against domestic violence and other rights of the women to make her own decisions. So that was the second wave of feminism. The third wave of feminism became more inclusive in nature, and it also brought out with it the notion of how the rights of the third gender and the black women is also important. So that was the third wave of feminism. The fourth wave of feminism we have seen in the digital age, that focuses on how by using media the concept of feminism can be fostered, or women's rights or gender rights can be further fostered in the society. The fifth wave has extensive use of internet and media, and it is bringing about change in the society in understanding the concept of women's rights, gender rights, and also the rights of the male in cases where there is discrimination based on sex and gender. So feminism as a movement has brought about the idea of discrimination, have pointed out the various oppressive nature of patriarchy that is existent in our society since time immemorial, but we have probably not been able to identify the oppression of patriarchy or identify that we have been oppressed. It is only by the movement of feminism that we have identified that there is discrimination based on our sex and our gender in the society. So feminism is an important concept in this particular course also, because it will help us to understand or internalize the concept of gender and how feminism has talked about the rights of the different genders in the society. As I told you, in the second wave they have talked about the rights of women's body, and it has talked about empowerment. So the concept of sexuality here refers to a person's capacity for sexual feelings and encompasses their sexual orientation, preferences, behavior and identity. It includes emotional, romantic and physical attraction to others, shaped by biological, psychological, cultural and social factors. Sexuality is diverse and fluid, reflecting individual experiences, values and relationships over time. Now, sexual expressiveness of the male, female and the third gender needs to be discussed here. So here we see that as we talk about this concept, it basically expressiveness refers to the rights of a person to be sexually expressive or to identify oneself with one particular sex or gender. Now when we see that the society discriminates the community of LGBTQ++, that is lesbian, bisexual, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and other forms of the third gender, we have to understand that this sexual expressiveness is being curbed here. So here we see that the third gender, the queer on the third gender, is an umbrella term for sexual and gender minorities who are not heterosexual but non-normative sexual identity is something that they reflect. So queer came to be used derogatively against those with same-sex desires and relationships in the late 19th century. Queer, the word queer means strange or unusual. It means that this category is not fitting the traditional ideas about gender or sexuality, especially the idea that everyone is supposed to be either male or female, or that people should only have sexual relationships with the opposite sex. However, the LGBTQ+ community might differ from this particular notion that there are only two or gender binary in the society. anyone who wants to be included as LGBTQ, they strongly identify with the queer culture or queer community. This concept was widely discussed by the feminist Judith Butler in her book of 1990. It is named as the Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity. So this feminist theories greatly discussed the concept of queer and how the third gender identity is being seen. So under the queer umbrella, or which is a broader term, we have different concepts like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, pansexual, asexual, and many others. The queer movement first started in New York, and we have to refer to the important event, the Stonewall protest in New York, where the first gay rights activism started. So it was Stonewall. In Stonewall, they had a pub where all the persons with same sex who have either lesbian, gay, and bisexual, transgender, they used to come there and spend time in the particular pub. The New York police one day attacked them, and it is said that it was one of the first landmark event that changed the entire scenario of gay rights in the world. So the Stonewall protest started from the next day, and many gay activists and also people who also belong to the gender binary of male and female, they said that we have to give them the right to choose their sexual identity and sexuality, and the police and the law should not intervene with them. In fact, it was the first movement that brought about finally legalized gay marriages in the United States. In India, the section 377 of the Indian Penal Code was repealed. Why? Because the IPC of section 377 said that same-sex relationship was considered to be unnatural or unlawful in the society. However, the Supreme Court passed a judgment which completely repealed the particular section and said that until it is consensual sex or consensual relationship of the same sex persons, it cannot be unlawful. So this section of 377 of the Indian Penal Code was finally repealed. Now let us see what are the other queer rights in India. In India, we see that queer rights have been significant progress in the recent years, though earlier it was quite orthodox of not accepting the third gender or identifying them to be given any legal rights. In 2018, the Supreme Court decriminalized consensual same-sex relationships by striking down the 377 of the IPC, and in 2014, the court recognized transgender individuals as a third gender and affirmed their rights to self-identity. So therefore, you might see that nowadays in the application forms, we do not only have the two sexual sex binaries, that is male and female, we also have another category as the other. So it means that after Supreme Court recognized them as the third gender, they have to be given all forms of rights and social benefits, and that is their right to self-identity or sexual identity. In India again, the Transgender Persons Act 2018, it is termed as Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act of 2019, aims to protect the rights, though it had faced criticism for its limitations. However, same-sex marriage remains unrecognized in India and still a societal stigma persists. But it is said that the transgenders have been given by the Supreme Court the equal right compared to the other sex binaries that exist in the society. With legal strides have been made Advocacy continues for comprehensive equality, including anti-discrimination protections and broader acceptance in all aspects of life. Legal strides are important, and advocacy, at the NGO level, at the legal level, is still continuing for their, rights and identities, and also in cases on, rights to adopt, whether same-sex couple can go for adoption or not. Sometimes there is discrimination, and mostly it has not been legalized yet, but it is in the process of being demanded for. So that is all for today. We have discussed about the different concepts of sex and gender, as to how the concept of feminism is important. There are gendered stereotyping, gender roles in the society, and we have come to know that social stratification and gender based discrimination exist in the society. So rights of the queer is important, and we have discussed about some of the legal dimensions of the third gender or the queer here. Thank you so much.